You know, in the wild world of the NFL, games aren't always won with brute strength or lightning speed. Sometimes they're won with a bit of mind game magic, a bluff. Today, we're going to break down the absolutely incredible story of how one of the season's biggest upsets came down to a single calculated risk that shattered a long and painful curse.
So let's get right into it. How on earth does a team who looks like they're just playing for a tie end up winning the whole thing because of a penalty they were actually trying to take? It's this amazing mix of high-level strategy and, maybe a little bit of good luck.
Okay, so I want you to picture this. You're at Arrowhead Stadium, probably the loudest, most hostile place to play in the entire league. The Denver Broncos have the ball, deep in Chiefs territory. It's fourth down, the clock is screaming down under 2 minutes, the entire game is hanging in the balance. You could hear a pin drop.
And right here, in this pressure cooker moment, the entire game just flips on its head. We're going to look at the brilliant, almost sneaky plan that led to one of the most critical mistakes you'll ever see.
So check this out. Here's the Broncos' big plan. And it's so smart because it's the last thing you'd expect. Instead of risking some crazy play on fourth down, Coach Sean Payton's plan was to intentionally take a penalty. Just let the play clock hit 0, take the 5-yard penalty, and then kick a much easier field goal to tie the game. It's all about playing the odds.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Coach Payton said it himself. They were never going to snap that ball. They were playing for the tie, perfectly managing the situation. But, as you can probably guess, this is where things get interesting.
And this right here is the whole key to the story. The one group of guys who have no idea this is all a setup? The Kansas City Chiefs defense. All they see is fourth down, a chance to be heroes and make a game-winning stop. They're amped up, they're fired up, and they are ready to explode off the line of scrimmage.
And boom, that's exactly what happens. All-pro lineman Chris Jones, he's just trying to get a good jump on the play, but he jumps the split second too early. A flag flies. But instead of the delay of game penalty that Denver wanted, it's an offsides penalty on the Chiefs. And that mistake completely resets the board and gives the Broncos a fresh first down, an absolute game changer.
Now, to really understand the shockwave that this moment sent through the league, we got to rewind a bit. We need to look at who these two teams were and the very different roads they were on right before this game even started.
And this table just says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the Broncos, who are on fire, 13-3, fighting for that #1 seed in the playoffs. But look at that last line. They'd lost 16 straight games in Kansas City. A massive curse. Then you've got the Chiefs, the champs, yeah, but totally wrecked by injuries and starting their third-string quarterback. It was a wounded giant versus a challenger with a whole lot of baggage.
And when I say wrecked by injuries, I am not kidding. No Patrick Mahomes, no backup quarterback, key playmakers all over the field were out. This was a shell of the team that had been running the AFC for years, and it really set the stage for something big to happen.
But you know, even with all those guys out, the Chiefs still had their championship heart, especially on defense. This game was no shootout. It was a gritty, ugly, defensive slugfest where every single point felt like it took a monumental effort. And you can see it right here in the scoring summary. This was a total back-and-forth affair. It was just trading blows. Denver would march down for a field goal, then the Chiefs would claw their way back with a touchdown. Nobody could pull away, which meant it was all going to come down to that crazy fourth quarter, a total nail-biter. Yeah, it was a true war of attrition. No flashy plays, just long, grinding drives. The whole game was really boiling down to one simple question. After all this pressure, who was going to blink first?
And that brings us right back to those final minutes. Now that we have the full picture, the rivalry, the injuries, the tough-fought game, let's see exactly how that one little penalty turned a clever plan into a victory for the ages. Because the Broncos got that absolute gift of a first down, they didn't have to settle for a game-tying kick. Just a few plays later, their quarterback, Bo Nix, finds R.J. Harvey in the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown. The bluff didn't just tie the game, it won it outright. Incredible.
And there it is. 20-13, the final score. A one-touchdown win, decided in the final 2 minutes, all because of that one penalty. But really, the numbers on that scoreboard, that's only half the story.
The most important number for the Denver Broncos, for their fans, for that entire organization on this night was this one. 2015.
Yep, that was the last time Denver had won in that building. 16 straight losses. That's almost a decade.
A whole generation of players had come and gone without ever winning there. So this win wasn't just about the playoff race. It was about finally breaking a curse. So what's the fallout from a game this dramatic? Well, a single win like this sends ripples across the entire league, and it completely changes the futures of both of these teams.
For Denver, things are looking great. They are now in the driver's seat to win their division, and they have a real shot at getting the #1 seed in the playoffs, which means all the playoff games come through their home stadium. This was a massive win for their Super Bowl hopes.
But for the Chiefs, well, the picture is a whole lot murkier. Sure, you can blame it on injuries, but this loss showed a crack in the armor that we just haven't seen in years, and it forces them to start asking some pretty tough questions.
And you can really hear those questions in this quote from one of their all-time greats, Travis Kelce. When he starts talking about potential retirement, it tells you this might be a turning point, not just for this season, but for the entire Chiefs dynasty.
And that really leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Was this shocking loss just a speed bump for a champion that got hit by the injury bug? Or are we actually watching the beginning of the end for one of the NFL's greatest modern eras? Only time is going to tell.